Hello everyone, Kuro the Artist here, and welcome back to another Ben 10 breakdown. When I think about Ben 10, the most prominent nostalgic era for me was Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, as in I think it's the best out of the 4 Prime series, but UA was when I was at the peak of being a Ben 10 fan. Ben 10 was Cartoon Network's biggest show at the time, and it was probably the most glory he's ever got, being the front runner for a lot of their crossover projects, tons of new merchandising, even some spin-offs like game shows and live plays. The show was bigger than ever, and of course, the divisiveness of Alien Force Season 3 created a ton of online discussion, which in my opinion is a good thing. And of course, the Dwayne site was still around, and before Twitter really took off, this was pretty much the central hub for Ben 10 fans to connect with the crew, and it was glorious. Although if you ask an average Ben 10 fan what they think of UA today, usually they have something negative to say, especially if they're a fan of Omniverse. From my personal perspective, when OV came out, that shitstorm was enormous. I'm talking almost a united front against the series just on the art style alone, months before the first episode even came out. The amount of discourse and commotion prompted by this single image alone was astronomical. I've never seen so many fans turn against the show so quickly. And what did that do for the UAF era? Pretty much put it on a pedestal. The show was worshipped as the quintessence of what Ben 10 should have continued to be in their eyes. All of its deeper and mature scenes were glorified. Even the art style, which used to get a lot of flack when compared to Classic, was praised, because in OV, we were getting things like Mustache Forearms and Disco Pants Grandpa. But now, well over a decade later, the script has completely flipped. Omniverse is finally getting the recognition it deserves. Those who loved the show upon its debut are not afraid to speak up anymore. Many who were against it have turned a new leaf and can see the wonderful things that Omniverse has done for the franchise. Ben 10 wouldn't have the legacy it does without Omniverse, and I'd even argue that it's the most relevant version of the series currently in terms of discussion, fan art, and YouTube content centered around it. But with every positive comes a negative. Now it seems like since OV's on top, we can't just appreciate the good. No, we have to knock something back down, and that's where the UA hate comes in. Suddenly, every flaw that UA has is blown up to a superfluous proportion, in a very similar vein of what happened to OV back in the day. If UA took 2 steps forward and 1 step back, only the backward steps would count in the eyes of modern fans. I can't help but feel that now that people are finally giving Omniverse the glory it deserves, people feel obligated to hate on UA in its place. Those who were scorned and ridiculed for liking Omniverse now have the upper hand, and want to do to Ultimate Alien what the community used to do to Omniverse about a decade ago. And honestly, it's pretty stupid. Like, every version of Ben 10 has its flaws, but it also has its greater parts. UA did some really awesome things for the franchise, and told some great stories. I think we forget that, or at least choose to ignore it, because UA already had its heyday. People already gave it the love and glory that it needed. So now, all people want to do is pick apart its flaws and act like it's the worst thing ever. I'm hoping with these breakdowns I could shine some light back on UA, and remind people why there used to be so much support for it in the first place. But y'all know me, when there's bullshit happening, I will absolutely call the series out on it. I'm not gonna treat UA any differently than the other series I'm breaking down. It definitely has its flaws, but that's every Ben 10 show. But UA gets singled out a little too harshly lately, even more so than the reboot. And again, I think it's all just born on resentment rather than it actually being as bad as people say it is. Of course, UA did have a pretty rough start with its first couple of episodes, there's no denying that. So it might take a little bit to get the ball rolling on defending UA. So let's start off the Ultimate Alien breakdowns with its debut episode, the one where Ben's secret identity was leaked online by a 10-year-old YouTuber. If this is your first breakdown and you're curious about how my rating system works, there's a detailed description down below, along with a link to all my previous breakdowns, but by all means, watch this video first, I'm sure you'll still enjoy it. I'm still streaming every Tuesday at 2 PM EST over on Twitch. I just finished my playthrough of Protector of Earth, and by the chat's demand, I did upload my full playthrough on our second channel. That will be linked down below as well. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up! Get up, Ben, please. He's gonna like take his sweet ass time. Got a giant crystal bear coming for him, and he's like, hold on a second, let me make sure my shoes are tied and all of this shit before he stands the fuck up. This coming Tuesday, I'll be streaming some commissions, but the Tuesday after that, I will pick the video game streak back up and begin the first Ben 10 Alien Force video game. Hope y'all will stick around for that, but for now, let's get started. As per status quo, Dwayne McDuffie gets the glory of season opener with Fame, which debuted April 23rd, 2010. After saving the galaxy multiple times, Ben has gained some notoriety out in space, but here on Earth, Ben's identity has finally been revealed as well, so now he must deal with the pros and cons of global fame. But so far, everyone seems to be against him. Meanwhile, the trio investigate a series of robberies at NASA and find the first clue to a lead of an entire conspiracy involving a very familiar power set. In the first 2 seconds, we're already thrown through a loop. Check this out, we not only have the return of Wildmutt, but footage of 10-year-old Wildmutt from Classic. Could not have seen this coming, honestly. Don't think this is from any specific episode. You can see he's kind of adjusted to the Ultimate Alien art style. He doesn't have black lips and he has a green hourglass symbol, but he still has the old Omnitrix shoulder pad, so from there we can tell it's Classic Wildmutt. Swampfire right here making some vines. I don't think we ever actually see him do this either. This is a pretty neat power. So if you couldn't tell, we're opening with a little montage of found footage of Ben's aliens throughout the past 6 years or so. You got Brainstorm right here, which is probably from peer pressure, as Brainstorm's debut was at a pier, even though the pier seemed completely empty when we were there.
Creatures with unbelievable powers.
That right there is Jimmy Jones using a voice filter. We'll meet him soon, who is played by Scott Menville. He's been in Ben 10 a couple of times before, and now he has his first main character. Scott Menville is also famous for playing Robin in Teen Titans Go. But these echoes right here could probably be from Kevin's big score, though I don't even know who could have been filming this. Jet Ray flying over Bellwood. Like how a lot of these things are out of focus.
But that isn't the amazing part.
Miscellaneous cannon bolt footage. I've talked about this before, but this is not even like him uncurling out of the ball form. This is like him turning out of some type of jelly shape, and also implies that it's the sides of his feet that's the outer ball of the shell, when arguably it's usually the shoulders or at least the arms.
This is
Big Chill from Save the Last Dance. This is a pretty obvious one.
all of the creatures you
Chromastone from the Gauntlet. This is probably one of the most believable ones people would have footage of because there was actual people there. Although Ben did transform openly in front of everybody without concealing his identity, along with Gwen using her powers, so by this logic, his secret should have been found out months ago.
you've just seen
I don't think this is from anything specific. We normally don't see Hybrid outside of their little control rooms.
are actually alter egos.
Goop, this is probably from Vengeance of Vilgax, because Goop was in the sewer there. Although this wasn't actually Ben, this was one of the escaped DNA archetypes.
Are actually alter egos of one man.
Spider Monkey versus some DNA aliens. Also goes to show that there was a lot of off-screen adventures happening in Alien Force as well, which is obvious, but like very rare when we actually see some footage from it.
His name is Ben Tennyson.
What a picture. I'm glad that it's something weird and goofy. Although if you look in the picture, he still has his Alien Force Omnitrix. Not that it should be the Ultimatrix by now, as there's definitely more footage of him using the Omnitrix than the Ultimatrix. I just think that's neat to point out.
Ben Tennyson.
Also, this is the drive-ins that they were at in Secret of Chromastone. I don't think this was from Secret of Chromastone specifically, but this is that Mr. Smoothie. In fact, I just realized how peculiar it is that they're airing this on TV.
You are so busted.
Man, Kevin's just loving this. We also see that Kevin has gone back to wearing his Alien Force Seasons 1 and 2 outfit, which is so iconic for him, and it's a great look. But you know, since they got new outfits in Season 3 of Alien Force, and then Gwen even gets a new outfit in this series, although it's kind of just a recolor of her Alien Force outfit with her hair tied back, it is a bit disappointing that Kevin went back to his old look, and Ben still hasn't even gotten an update yet. But hey, you can't beat the green jacket. And our first look at the new Ultimate Alien opening, we start off with an original animation in the art style of the show, something very rare for an opening. I think the only other time we got actual original animation in the show's art style for an opening was that one brief shot of the trio standing in a field. Everything else was reused clips or done in the Flash style like in Classic. But it always bothers me whenever Ben just raises his hand and the Ultimatrix just activates. Maybe you can call it a feature and say like he can mentally activate it or whatever, but let's be real, they just stopped caring about showing how to activate the devices and treating them like there's some type of specific logical system to how they're used. Now, I've already done a full detailed breakdown of the Ultimate Alien intro. You can catch that video on the channel. I'll link it down below. But I do want to say I love how they redrew all the aliens just for this intro. So that's pretty nice. You see every alien Ben has unlocked so far. All the classic aliens pretty much just look like themselves, unless they've already had a UAF update. Like, they already had what Galvins look like in this universe. They can use that, but some aliens get the shorthand of the stick, like Ditto and Snarrow, Eye Guy. Ghost Freak, they got to reuse used from Ghost Town. Wildmutt actually has black lips in this intro, so it shows that they're able to do it. They just don't. We even get to see some new aliens that he doesn't have, like NRG and Amphibian. Forearms' new look. Yeah, some of them have really great poses, like Spider Monkey, Wildvine, Humungosaur. Blitzwolfer looks really dope right here. We even get the future aliens like Artiguana and Spitter here. They were being very ambitious with this intro. Even Frankenstrike gets a slight Ultimate Alien redesign, even though he's not used. Same with Ripjaws, and Ripjaws has a totally different design from when he officially shows up. But I like it. I see what they were going for. It's very exciting. Shows off Ben's current arsenal. Not a bad intro, but probably the most boring one. And boom, here's Ben standing with all of his transformations. Really wish we could have seen this in a more high quality shot though. There's too much motion blur on it. So even if you watch this in like HD or 4K, this is still pretty much the best look you're gonna get from it. And Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. Hooray, fireworks. It's great how a lot of these clips just show off Ben's personality too. They're not all heroic saves. Sometimes it's just Ben fucking around.
Every channel, Ben, and they know who you are.
Well, it hasn't been proven yet, right? The video put together is just a theory. Ben could have tried to deny this. I mean, it's kind of impossible, and he might as well just accept it, which he does. But technically, it's not proven yet until Ben walks out of the house and proves it.
Okay, maybe a few people care. You should lie low for a while.
This is a good premise though, not just for this episode, but a theme of Ultimate Alien is how Ben's dealing with his fame. Sometimes he loves it, sometimes he wants to keep to himself. It's not an easy thing, and I'm glad they're tackling that.
But how do you get past them?
I like how they actually made the fisheye lens when Gwen's looking through the door.
You have a statement. It's hero time!
Hell yeah. Yeah, what a way to prove it. Exclaim your catchphrase and transform right in front of them. But our first actual transformation in the show, and yet again, Ben just kind of activates the Omnitrix with his telepathic control over it. And we get Humungosaur. Probably not the best impression to give these people. I get that he wants to be left alone, but this is just kind of making himself seem like a dangerous menace, giving Will Harangue more fuel for his fire. Oh, we haven't even met Harangue yet. So many introductions in this episode.
Growling's rough on my throat.
Might be a joke on how D. Bradley Baker has gone on record saying it's very tricky for him to voice Humungosaur, and eventually that's why he's replaced an OV forward.
You should have used one of your new ultimate transformations. I wanted to scare them, not me.
So this line, along with a few other things, we're seeding a storyline that was eventually dropped about something being up with Ben's Ultimate Aliens. You can argue that the payoff was the ultimate sacrifice, but there's still a few hints and bricks laid down that don't have any resolution. Sort of like the Dragon plotline in Alien Force. It looks like they're building to something, but it's not there. And Ben being afraid of his ultimate transformations is one of those things that never end up having any semblance in the future. And we're at Julie's house. I'm glad we're continuing to get more daytime shots, but it seems like the backgrounds are having less intricacy lately. Like, this is simple even for UAF standards.
You can stay here until I get back.
And here he is.
Ugh, this guy hates you.
After Ben takes a bite, he just turns his hand down. And poof, it's full of popcorn again.
Welcome back to the Will Harangue Nation. Our top story, it's got to be Ben Tennyson.
Will Harangue is one of those G. Gordon Godfrey, J. Jonah Jameson type people. But something about Will Harangue, he really works for me. I think it's because he's so obviously wrong, and he's borderline a villain. Like, J. Jonah Jameson always thinks he's doing and reporting on the right thing. G. Gordon Godfrey, he's like with Darkseid, right? So he is a straight up villain. But Will Harangue's just this angry, insane man who somehow got himself a job on the news and wants to do nothing but just hate on this 16-year-old kid like it's the only thing that gives him life anymore. And I gotta admit, it's pretty funny.
Alien Invasion.
He is also voiced by John DiMaggio, by the way. John starts getting a lot of characters in Ultimate Alien. He already had quite a few in Alien Force, but here it's like if there's a character who's not in the main trio, it's either John DiMaggio, D. Bradley Baker, or Jeff Bennett. Take your pick.
Why does everybody use that picture?
All of these seemingly unconnected attacks.
So Humungosaur's growing, but he's not gaining any armor. And it looks like he's struggling too. Well, not struggling, just very tense. Never seen him grow like this before. Although lifting to save a bridge, this was in All That Glitters, right? Yeah, it's a very similar shot from All That Glitters. It's got the same sign and the same wreckage. Humungosaur's even in the same position. He's just not in his giant form. We're still getting some reused shots. This right here is from Vengeance of Vilgax Part 2 when Ben's pursuing Goop down the street.
Ben Tennyson, Threat or menace? Call in with your vote.
Threat or menace? Wow, those are some options, huh? And back in the days when you would call in with your vote. Simpler times.
Why don't we go for a drive in your new car?
The car that Ben got in Alien Swarm, one of the first of many connections that movie has with Ultimate Alien. If it weren't for all the small differences, Alien Swarm might as well be canon, but there's too many things that don't line up for it to be completely acceptable. It's only canon in broad strokes. Beautiful sky texture.
Maybe it's for the best.
Now here we see the animated version of Ben's car. Looks pretty different from how it does in the film. It now has this big green X going across it. You can't really see it in this shot, but it has little Ultimatrix symbols on the wheels. Although it's still got the same general shape with like the bump and the sleekness and the smooth curves.
Maybe I can do more good as a public superhero than I did in secret.
These seats look mad comfy too.
Once people get to know me, I can win them over.
That hasn't been my experience.
Wow, Julie throwing shade out here. And it's good to know that even though Ben has a car now, we still get to see Kevin's. It's not like they're replacing it. We just add on another vehicle to the roster.
I found the guy who figured out your secret ID, then blabbed it all over the internet.
I want to say that they should have explained how Kevin did that, but this thing is pretty simple. I mean, if he uploaded it online, Kevin probably has a device that can track the IP address. And boom, there's your guy.
Give him a piece of our mind. Best idea I've heard all day.
Yeah, let's kill him. So Jimmy just lives in a typical apartment building. Nothing real special here.
Julie is the only one of us with any common sense.
Might not seem like much, but at this specific angle, this would be a hard shot to animate and make it look good. Just because even if you get the proportions correct, they still might look a little weird because we're looking down on them as they're leading up and they're walking as well. But hey, props to whoever did this shot.
Gotta be ready for anything, cause the guy in there's the mastermind.
He's right. I mean, it's funny because we know it's just Jimmy, but you have no idea who this guy is. Now, I remember when Kevin did this, someone asked how Kevin was able to coat himself in metal, since it was established that Kevin needed a lot of something to absorb in order to create a solid coat, and we've seen times before when he didn't have enough metal there. But here he just has the one keyhole. And Dwayne had said that Kevin makes a very thin sheet, which, you know, sounds like one of those answers that a writer would give just to cover their ass. But also, Kevin does evolve past needing the same amount of material to absorb that he can put on his body. So now Gwen's little bag of different materials might actually be good for him. He should have picked that back up. They also started using the drop shadow for Kevin's absorbing effect right here. Probably because, you know, it's a series premiere. They want the animation to look real nice. Like how the locks aren't all perfect. Really shows what kind of quality situation the Joneses are living in.
Oh,
She recognizes Ben's jacket.
you must be friends of James. Jimmy!
Mrs. Jones here is also voiced by Vivian, which I actually wasn't able to catch the first couple of times. He's got his little homemade Ben jacket too. This guy is awesome. Like it or not, Jimmy was all of us growing up, or at least how the writers saw us.
That's your mastermind? Great to meet you.
He's even got like classic Ben's pants. Lots to unpack here. A lot of these screenshots are just reused from the opening montage we saw, like this Humongosaur versus Hybrid, and Humongosaur getting his foot stuck in a car. Some things are just model art, like this Cannon Bolt right here, or Big Chill and Chromostone. This is Wrath. I can't tell what's happening here. This Echo could be model art, like showing the animators what his mouth looks like when it's opened. This Ben is definitely model art. This is actually Julie's house. Maybe having ship attracts a lot of attention. And right here we see a map of the USA, probably different locations where Ben has been. I wonder how many of these locations actually line up with the map that I made from my classic breakdowns. Jimmy's even got a little analysis on Chromosome's crystals right here. Maybe he found a few samples. Oh, you know what? Here's a much better look at some stuff. Yeah, all these words are just kind of scribbles and stuff and blocks. We weren't quite in the era where artists will hide dozens of Easter eggs in the background. Before, everything was just kind of ambiguous because they weren't done with the intention that people would be pausing and dissecting every frame of what the series has, compared to shows like Rick and Morty or Inside Job, where basically if it's on screen, there's probably some thought into what was put there, and it's littered with Easter eggs and references.
Why did you do this to Ben?
So much awkward silence in this episode too.
I don't understand.
English, motherfucker! Do you speak it?
Put him down and let him talk.
Damn, he threw that kid onto the bed.
Dude, you are not gonna cry.
Kevin's being so mean right now.
Why did you post that video?
Love how Ben's approaching this very calmly. Hard to believe season 3 Ben would handle it this maturely. So it's nice that Ultimate Alien starts trying to bring some balance back to his character.
I noticed that a lot of them came from Bellwood.
Makes you wonder how many other people put that together.
Lots of them were wearing this symbol.
Yeah, can't argue with that. They do all wear it like a badge. All the pictures right here are straight up stock art too. Although, because of the line weight and quality, I wouldn't be surprised if they're redrawn from the stock art they're referencing, because it looks pretty well blended in with the background. rather than just being the literal stock art that's cropped and shoved into there.
And you piece together Ben's identity from a picture of him wearing the Omnitrix.
Neat to hear them still refer to the Omnitrix, because that's what it would have been at the time.
I just thought everybody should know how cool you are.
That's sweet of him. Looks like we got a silhouette of Swampfire right here, and a little sketch of Goop.
Attention? Money?
Ah, yes, they're two weaknesses.
Humongosaur? Goop?
Probably knows all the names because Ben keeps calling them out.
What's this one?
I thought it was Mr. Tennyson. The sightings have been in Orlando. I've got some video.
Oh yeah, I forgot that Jimmy starts slowly getting some crazy hacking capabilities. Kid's pretty much a genius, but also shows how easy it is to do this kind of shit if you know what you're doing. Like, we really underestimate what the power of computers and the internet is capable of. Get wet. Although with him, you can see that he doesn't have the Omnitrix symbol, so I'm surprised that Jimmy doesn't bring that up.
We'll take the rust bucket.
You want to drive all the way to Florida?
That implies their current location is pretty far from Florida, for those still trying to map out where Bellwood could possibly be. Although, does Jimmy also live in Bellwood? Or just, like, near Bellwood? Like, where are they right now?
Not that rust bucket, the new one.
Gotta be dramatic. This airplane graveyard looks familiar. Is this where Volcanus used to hang out? Yep, this is the place where Kevin met Volcanus in Kevin's Big Score. I love whenever they reuse locations. Makes the world feel more full. Although these planes being doubled right here looks like an error.
It was a standard plumber issue ship.
Wait, how did he get here before them? And of course the whole ship is painted green. Match Kevin's car and the whole green aesthetic of Ben 10.
But I've made some improvements.
Still haven't gotten a full look at the ship yet. Probably won't see it until it takes off. How do y'all feel about the Rust Bucket 3 though? I like it. Pretty cool that they have their own ship and it's very useful. And also saves them from having to work around finding a ship all the time like they used to do in Alien Force. And even then when they had to borrow a ship, you know, it gives them something of their own.
Subspace hyperdrive for effective FTL.
This ship's faster than light? Makes sense with how easily they go around the galaxy later.
Extranet access.
The extranet. So it was mentioned before Omniverse. Okay.
We can use our plumber's badges to access any database on Earth, even secure ones.
Although here it sounds like the extranet is just like a more intricate and accessible version of the internet rather than being like the galaxy's version of the internet.
Make it go.
Really wonderful animated fire. Looks like a CG effect until it starts coming out. And now we get an actual look at the Rust Bucket right here, or the Rust Bucket 3. Not gonna lie, I enjoy how simple it is. The Omniverse one, I like it because it kind of looks like Grandpa Max's Rust Bucket, and of course it has a more unique shape, but also this is Kevin's vehicle, not Max's. And it was stated to be a regular plumber ship that he's upgraded, so I think this look not only logically fits more, but I also personally enjoy it more, just the sleeker ship looking design. Don't gotta go crazy with it.
I found the source of the video. Top secret NASA facility. They're building a starship.
Earth tech is so primitive, I'm embarrassed to tell my friends I'm from here.
I love that line.
Trouble, we're flying into restricted airspace.
Here comes America.
This is a brand new paint job!
Alright, so I know this is a ship, but I'm still gonna count it under Kevin's car repairs, because ultimately it's still Kevin's problem. And you know, the Rust Bucket 3 does take on the running gag that Kevin's vehicle always gets destroyed in some way. So I know the counter is called car repairs, but I'm also counting it for whenever it happens to the Rust Bucket 3. Oh shit, do we ever see this thing again? This thing looks awesome. And wow, Kevin just became an enemy of the United States.
Those guys are on our side!
He ejected.
Oh jeez.
Open it.
Now this shot confuses me, because if you think about the thickness of the ship, how is the ship this long where he can like fall this far through the ship before he reaches the outside? Like there's no way a tunnel this long can exist inside of the Rust Bucket 3. I mean, it's a cool shot. And of course the military is using lasers. Although if these are supposed to be a censored substitute for bullets, this kind of confirms that Jet Ray's bulletproof. I like this little trail they add to him too, to show his speed. That's neat. Gotta endanger them to save them. Mouth doesn't move when he says gotcha. What about the people he shot out of the air? Is he going back for them?
You're going down.
Those are really cool looking guns. Probably just shoot a laser though.
I'm the famous Ben Tennyson.
Let him out.
Colonel Rosum. Between Jimmy Jones, Will Harang, and now Colonel Rosum, we get a lot of new supporting character introductions in this episode. Guess Ultimate Alien really was trying to make an effort to build a new supporting cast, since, like, you know, the Plumbers kids are all in space now, and Dark Star is still ambiguously evil.
Even though the plumbers are secret, every government on Earth recognizes your authority in these matters.
Well, that's good to know, being as how the Plumbers were founded by the President anyways.
A problem I understand is right up your alley.
Colonel Rosum is also voiced by John DiMaggio, and is not the last one of this episode. So is this NASA? Oh yeah, I guess so. That's where all their rockets are. Very peculiar looking building though. Is that what it really looks like? Not from what I can see on Google, but maybe not everything is Google accessible. There's a rocket.
It's called the Orion. Once clear of the Earth, a series of atomic bombs explode, propelling it through space.
Would that actually work? If any of y'all have any expertise on that, let me know in the comments.
A series of robberies has practically shut us down. Nothing we've tried can stop it.
Bivalven's really that strong? If he is, then Ben seriously underutilizes water hazard. Speaking of...
Uncatalogued DNA detected.
This is the first time an Omnimatrix device has warned Ben of uncatalogued DNA. So that's another new feature.
Function not available.
Although it's kind of a double-edged sword, as Ben can't transform until he collects that DNA. He's just walking out with it. Oh, there's actually some rock sound effects used for Kevin absorbing the stone. Hear that? Normally it always sounds the same. And we're seeing that Kevin keeps his shape-shifting powers despite not being in his mutated form, which I think was a very smart move. At least he tried.
Unknown DNA sample acquired.
And our first time scanning an alien from the distance, right? Using that holographic wave instead of them having to touch the dial. Here you can see some of the inner details of the Ultimatrix. You only get to see those every now and then. I like how the dial spins back into place. That's neat.
What did you do?
Bivalven's first words, and you'll never guess who he's voiced by. And look at that, Ben just pops up the Ultimatrix with his mind yet again. But it's the return of Chromastone with a slightly new transformation sequence. So the body morphing is reused along with the head transition from Alien Force. In fact, in UA you can still see he's got the smaller strap representing the Omnitrix. But this right here is reanimated. Instead of just being a slow pan with the spikes growing out of him, it's a fixed shot, Chromastone's back, where the crystals poke out of him, causing Chromastone to flinch, and the crystals are tinted green instead of being pink. I don't know why this was reanimated. And this is a rare effect you see, where the alien is in full green and fades into his regular colors. We kinda got that with Wrath's transformation, but it wasn't all done in one shot. I think this is the only one done in one shot for now.
Wasn't even sure I still had this one.
And there you go. That's it. For everyone who is trying to say Secret of Chromastone was important, that's your one line. Soak it in while you can, because Chromastone's return is simplified down to an offhand comment that Ben all of a sudden has him again, and that's all you get. But between two different shots, Chromastone's effects look different. Here he's forming like a very blurry orb of light, whereas in the next shot, it has its standard crystallization effect with separated colors and kind of behaves a bit like electricity, or I guess just loose energy. Now that's a ton of water. That's more than just shooting it out of your hands. Really wonder how Bivalven's able to store all of that within his body. Maybe he's like replicating the water in the air already, if you want to get scientific. Now this used to bother me because in Chromastone's debut episode, they try to electrocute him and...
That's not going to work.
So this is the opposite of Chromastone's standard abilities. It was stated by the crew that Ben just wasn't concentrating and he needs to like activate his electrical durability somehow. And like, I guess. Kind of feels like just an oversight though.
Ben, are you okay?
Rosam's got some green eyes when they're normally gray.
We've got a big problem. This time he took the engine. A nuclear bomb.
Small detail, but you don't really see two layers of shading in Ben 10 that often. See how even within the shaded part of his face, there's an extra layer of shading near his ears and eyes? Why so much detail given to Rosam right here?
Come on, guys, anything?
The Ultimatrix is still making some of the same sounds that the Omnitrix used to, but eventually it gets its own complete sound library.
It's underwater.
I can get us there.
She's gotten really good at this. Remember when they used to just have to hold their breath? Also really like how the mana orb gives off its own light and you see it shine onto the cave as it passes through. Even got its own misty water trail. It's a good effect.
He's doing the same thing you always do, Kevin. Stealing?
You know, that's such very weird and specific phrasing for Ben just to set up that joke for Kevin to say stealing, but it's still funny, so whatever.
I think he's just trying to fix up his ship.
And I have 2 minutes for launch.
Alright, so I'm making a marker right now that this is 2 minutes. 16 minutes and 55 seconds.
Killing a couple million people isn't cool.
That's like a recurring phrase in Ben 10 now.
Eating babies is not cool!
Killing me is not cool.
Killing a couple million people isn't cool.
That cable's
Oh no. Whatever will she do?
It's okay.
Don't touch it!
Stop the clam guy. We'll think of something.
We will?
I don't gotta go too ham on this scene because I've talked about it many times before, but like, come on, Gwen. They also panned the background a little bit too far to the left. See how it's flush with the edge of the frame right here? If you go over here, boom, there's the white. And even Gwen's manosphere as well. They were too far over the edge right there.
Is nothing you can do to stop me.
Alright, here it says it's been 17 seconds. When it's actually almost been an entire minute. Now, I never expect counters in TV shows and movies to line up. So don't get it twisted like I'm actually criticizing the show for not making sure this lines up. I'm just doing this for my own amusement.
Time to go ultimate.
Spider Monkey. So here the spikes grow as the aura is coming out, and we get Ultimate Spider Monkey's transformation with the Alien Force bubble background. Ultimate Humongousaurus had its own special blue one, and Ultimate Swampfire didn't even get one. But here we get the regular transformation one, and it's still a bit of a morph too. I always like when they do that. You can see Spider Monkey's face right here starting to morph into Ultimate Spider Monkeys before the wave even passes over. Same with his arms getting much bigger and his body getting wider as his smaller arms absorb into his armpits. And the claws on his side are still there until they come out. I've always liked that. Oh, but they disappear here. Whoopsies.
Ultimate Spider Monkey!
This is also the first Ultimate where the voice significantly changes. Ultimate Humongousaur just gets a filter, and Ultimate Swampfire's was pretty much exactly the same. Also crazy that Ben needs a whole Ultimate form just to fight this Erosian. Got him, and that should be it, right? The splitting jaw thing was always pretty cool too. Shooting the webs out of his mouth.
Got it!
So it stops at 10 seconds. Let's see. The bomb started at 16 minutes and 55 seconds and ends at 18 minutes and 37 seconds. It actually took less than 2 minutes total. Usually it's like significantly more, but they actually made the sequence happen faster than the ticking down clock. Isn't that something? And finally, the transformation back is treated right, where Ben first has to become Spider Monkey in order to become his regular form. But just for a few quick frames, everything disappears. Like, see, when the aura shrinks down, you should see Kevin and Bivalven right here. But they're gone until this next frame. They pop back in. And then we also get our second hint towards the dropped plot line. These pink eyes right here. You can see it in this shot and in this shot. It's almost like an anodite form. And it was confirmed on at least 2 accounts that this was supposed to lead towards something. But we end up not getting that something.
Yeah, that's a little different.
That line too, like, what do y'all think this would have led towards?
I was kidnapped, along with 4 others by a monster named Agrigor.
I almost forgot this had anything to do with Agrigor. A lot happens in this episode.
Where are the others?
We were separated.
4 aliens that aren't in the Ultimatrix?
That is pretty cool. So we get Ultimate Aliens and brand new aliens in Ultimate Alien so far. A lot of transformations being added to Ben's arsenal.
I'll call the plumbers. They'll take you.
Don't drop it. And Ben still has to go to school.
I could drop out.
Basically does by Omniverse.
Everybody hates me.
Ben's backpack is now the same color as Julie's, when in the previous shot it was its own brownish yellow color.
Not everybody.
Cool to see other characters wearing the soccer uniform. Another small nod at the fact that Ben plays soccer. Although in Ben's uniform he has the stripe, whereas these ones they have a number on it. Man, even when this episode aired, who actually dresses like this anymore? Like, no hate towards the fashion, but this is like, you know, extra. He's got a whole bow tie and everything. Looking sharp though. And Cash and JT. They're like, we remember that time you hung us from a tree. But they came around. I actually really like that Cash and JT stood up for Ben in school. That's a nice way to show the new environment he's in. Also, isn't this Pierce's girlfriend?
You're all right, Tennyson.
And JT gets to speak because they do have Scott Menville around right now. He's still there.
Are you the plumbers?
You know, if he's not hostile anymore, why do they gotta keep him tied up? Gwen could have taken him to the surface. Agrigor. He's got 6 little nubs right now. Usually he only has 4. I liked the 6 nubs though.
No one escapes me.
Also voiced by John DiMaggio. But between Will, Rosem, and Agrigor, they do all have subtly distinct voices.
Welcome back to the Will Harangue Nation, our top story.
The first few times that thing came in here, it stole shielding.
No one escapes me, Bivalven.
Poor Bivalven though. So that was the premiere of Ultimate Alien. Now, strangely, that episode was executed a lot better than I remembered. It does a really great job laying down the groundwork for the series, introduces the new supporting characters, takes a look into Ben's personal life dealing with fame, while also setting up for the overall plot of this season. I really didn't have that much of a problem with any of it, so I'm going to give the plot a 4. I didn't realize until this breakdown, but a lot happens in this episode, but it's paced very well where it doesn't feel like it's being rushed or overwhelming. The first half of this episode is dedicated towards dealing with the fact that someone leaked Ben's identity online, and we meet the person who does it, Jimmy Jones, and he's actually a pretty likable character, and his identity is revealed in a pretty realistic way too. Someone just straight up notices the Omnitrix symbol is on all of these aliens and connects it to Ben. But of course, with all of the property damage that has happened, not to mention all the alien tax that's been happening the past few years, and not everybody knowing not all of them are Ben, it makes sense that a lot of people would be against Ben initially. I mean, we feel like it's unfair because we know Ben, we know his perspective, but to the outside world, at least in this episode, Will Harang does have some pretty solid points. We get the introduction of the Rust Bucket 3, which is great to allow the trio to traverse around the Earth and the universe a lot easier. We meet Bivalvin, the first of the Andromeda 5. I guess the biggest stretch is the fact that he can just easily break into and rob NASA, but you know, I guess it could happen. And also, you know, the whole Gwen welding torch thing, but honestly, those things don't really matter. The power scaling in Ben 10 is total bullshit anyways. And you know, Ben 10's NASA is different than our NASA. We really have no idea how it works. But I can't say there's any major plot holes or huge issues I have. It's a pretty solid, well-rounded story, and really sets the stage for what comes in Ultimate Alien. Characterization will get a 5 as well. I liked how everybody had their own perspectives on Ben's identity being public, and both Jimmy Jones and Will make great additions to the Ben 10 lore. This Ben right here seems like a perfect balance between his pre- and post-season 3 personality change from Alien Force. He's lighthearted, he's charming, but he takes things seriously, and he's still kind of an idiot. Kevin is funny as always. Gwen, aside from that one welding torch thing, is written pretty consistently as well. You know, every character has their moments where it's just wildly idiotic. I'm just surprised that it came from Dwayne McDuffie. Like, there's definitely better ways to take them out of the battle to leave it up to Ben. Maybe the bomb already exploded and Gwen has to contain it in a shield. Meanwhile, Kevin could be trying to contact NASA and evacuate everybody off the premise, just in case the bomb does escape Gwen's shield. Visuals, I'm only gonna give it a 4. There's a lot of fascinating things happening in this episode, especially all the alien cameos we get. But even for Alien Force standards, the art style does seem like it's on the lower end of its usual quality. And this episode has all but polished animation and interesting action sequences. Importance, it's gonna be a 5. Introduces a lot of new characters, kicks off the art, and you know, is the series premiere. And entertaining, I'll give it a 4. It really makes you wonder how the series is going to deal with Ben's identity now being public, because the way this is set up is it seems like the status quo has been changed forever. Not to mention all of the new things we get to see, like Ultimate Spider Monkey, a little tease of Agrigor, and Ben's car too. You know, this episode is jam-packed. They did really well with the season opener. It's a shame that it's about to be followed up by Duped. What's this? Ultimate Alien got a good score? There's no way it can receive such a high score because I personally dislike the series, therefore Kuro must be playing favorites. Can't wait to see those comments start rolling out. Anyways, I was looking stuff up on Google and it turns out Project Orion was real. The only difference is it wasn't as ready to go as shown in Ultimate Alien, but if you're interested in checking out some facts about Project Orion, I'll link its Wikipedia article down below. Also, if you go on the wiki, you can find a couple screenshots of Dwayne's original opening script for this episode, and I personally think it's kind of better than what we got in the episode. Definitely an interesting read, go check that out. I can link that down below as well. Before the links stack up too much, let's check out last week's poll. Seems like everybody's excited for the Ultimate Kevin arc. I am as well. UA seems to have a lot of the most controversial arcs, so this will definitely be an interesting discussion. For this week, I'd like to ask y'all, do you like the idea that Ben's secret identity is now public? Let me know what you think when this video goes live. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And as always, keep it fizzy.